Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is two different things. The first is that on the last stream, I was making the stream private because I wanted to test the equipment and test the connection and everything, and things went well, so I made the video public. And this time, I am making the stream public. So I'm streaming live this to YouTube. It is true that I didn't tell anyone that I was going to stream, so effectively it amounts to the same as streaming privately. And I am not scheduling the streams in advance, so it pretty much amounts to another test, but this time it is actually live, and in the future I will tell people that I'm streaming. And of course I'm streaming a niche thing, which is programming, and I am streaming a niche programming thing to do, which is to program in REAPER, in Lua, and to do a very specific task that is not used by many people, so not a super popular topic. It's not like I'm streaming Fortnite and I'm a popular streamer on Twitch. In any case, so that's the first thing we are doing today. We are testing that I can actually stream live, which is a first for me. The second thing we are going to do is to continue working on the thing that we were working on the previous stream. We are going to continue live coding this REAPER action that explodes a media item into all the different streams. So if your media item has a video stream, or maybe multiple video streams, and then multiple audio streams, maybe in the example that we are working on, it is the microphone is one source, and then there is another stream which is the computer audio. But you could also think of a file that has multiple video streams, maybe multiple camera angles in a single file as different streams, which is not the same as having multiple channels in the audio. So I'm not talking about necessarily surround sound audio. Each one of these streams is a different source, a different material. And we are making a REAPER action that explodes that into multiple files so that you can edit, because REAPER does not support multiple streams natively, which is kind of weird because it's the video support in REAPER is based on VLC, which itself does support multiple streams of video and audio, but REAPER doesn't pick that up. It only shows the first stream in your video item. So that's why we have this task to explode things, and it's also sometimes useful to have different tracks with all the different streams, because sometimes you may want to mute one of these streams and not the other, or you want to process the audio differently. So let's jump into where we were last time. So last time we figured the ffmpeg command that we need to run, and we figured how to traverse the object hierarchy in REAPER to get a hold of the file name. So at this point, I have here a sample file that we also created live in the previous stream, which is, by the way, available here on the channel if you're interested in watching that on demand later. In any case, so I have a video here, and I manually exploded the file into the different streams. So this is the video, this is the audio from the microphone, and this is the audio from the computer itself. And over here I have the code that I wrote last time, which is able to detect whether you have any item selected. If you have no item selected, then this will error. But if you do have an item selected, it will find the name of the file that is supporting this media item. So the media item is backed by a file on disk, which is the file that we want to manipulate using ffmpeg. We have a name for this file. Now, the strategy moving forward is to call ffmpeg to detect the different streams in the file. We also saw how to do that last time, but this time we are not going to do it from the command line. We are going to do it from the re-script itself. And then we'll call ffmpeg to actually explode things, and we'll put everything on a timeline. I don't know how far we are going to go with this session, but that's the plan. That's the general idea of what we want to accomplish today. Now, the first thing to think about is I think that we need to actually think ahead and think about how we are going to place the split items, so these items here on different tracks, how we are going to do that, because I think that influences our choice of how we are going to do everything else. By that I mean, we could do everything in a single loop. We would loop through all the selected items, and we would call ffmpeg to detect the different streams. We would call ffmpeg to convert, and then we would create tracks in REAPER to include those items. And we could do that in just one loop. But there may be good reasons to do that in multiple loops. On the first loop, we could detect that what are all the streams in the files that are selected. Then in another loop, we would call ffmpeg. And then in another loop, we would include the items in the timeline. And the reason to do this is that if there is anything that goes wrong when calling ffmpeg with one of the later files on the, if you have multiple files selected, multiple items selected in REAPER, then there may be an error that happens later on the third item that you have selected. And then you would get into this inconsistent state where you would have some of the items already processed and some of the items not processed yet. So if you do that in one loop, you end up in this weird state in case of errors. But if you do it in multiple loops, in the first loop, you are detecting the different streams in the files. So if something goes wrong, you have not made any action yet. You have not changed the material yet. So that may be advantageous. And then if you do the conversion on a separate loop, you don't again end up with this weird state where REAPER has some of the items in the timeline and some of the items not in the timeline. That would happen if the conversion itself went wrong for whatever reason. So maybe the conversion, you call ffmpeg on the command line and something goes wrong on the third item. Doesn't really matter because you have not changed anything on the timeline. It is true that you have created some files on the disk for the other video items, so that may not be ideal. But in any case, I think that there are still REAPER actions that you could call to clean these things up. Maybe, I don't know if we want to look into that. But in any case, I think there is some advantage to doing things in multiple loops. And one thing that I think is critical is how we want the timeline to look like after we are done. If there are multiple items, and I think that is the main problem that we have to think about. If there are multiple audio items or multiple video items that you are going to explode. So suppose there is not only this one. I wonder how to zoom out. That's how you do it. Okay. No, copy these items. So if you have two items selected like this, what do you want to happen? Do you want to have the result to look like this, or do you want the result to look like that? And I think that question should be answered by another action. I think we should mimic the behavior of another action that already exists that does not explode a media item into its multiple streams, but that explodes a multi-channel audio item. Like this one we have right here. It's a stereo signal, and we could explode that into multiple mono files. So let's look at how REAPER does that for audio, and we'll copy that behavior for video. So I'm going to move this over to a new track, and I'm going to have multiple of these because that's the behavior I want to test. And there is this action, it comes with REAPER, I think. Yes, because I have not installed any of my extensions or configurations here on this machine. So it does come with REAPER, that is called explode multi-channel audio to new one-channel items. And when I run this, okay, so that's interesting. It has muted the original items. That's definitely something we want to do, because muting a video item in REAPER is interesting. It does not only mute the audio associated with the video, but it also mutes that from the video at all. So let's look at the video preview here on the video window, which is a funny video because you can see my soundproof treatment here on the room. It's very hacky. In any case, if I mute the video, it should have, but it didn't, mute the video itself. So maybe it doesn't apply to muting the track, but up to muting the item. Maybe I Wonder how to mute an item. I have a keyboard shortcut on my configuration, but I don't have my configurations over here. So item settings, mute. I have the microphone, and now it's not muting the video from the output. It used to do that. Maybe it does that, and this video preview is lying to me for some reason. Oh, there is another copy of the video over here. So if I mute both of them, now that does it, because I have already exploded the video. So yeah, muting a video does not affect only the audio. It also affects the video. If you mute a video item, it will not display the video as well. So we want to do this idea of muting. And then we want to create a folder with the different channels. And if there are multiple audio items or video items on the same track, we want to create only as many tracks as we need in these folders. So we will want to create this folder structure. It will be interesting because creating folders in REAPER is kind of weird. The way that folders are represented internally it's weird. So we do want to reuse some of the tracks. We don't want the result to look like this. We want it to look like that. And in this case, I think it makes more sense for us to do multiple passes, because we will need to detect how many tracks we will need to create, and we'll need to figure out this folder substructure. And also there is the reason I already mentioned, which is to detect errors early on. So without that, we are ready to do the first loop. And on the first loop, what I want to do is just detect the different streams, and I will build some Lua tables to hold that information for the next loops to use. Let's come back to the action that we are writing. And I will select one of these. By the way, I wonder what happens. I think I'll take a tangent here. I wonder what happens with the default REAPER action we were just looking at. What happens if you have no item selected and you call the action? Because we are throwing an error here. But it could be also fine to just not do anything and just fail silently. I mean, that would be acceptable if you don't want to annoy the users by making them click on the OK button. So let's see what happens when I call the explode multi-channel audio with no items selected, like so. So here there are no items selected, and I will run the action, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't complain. So that may be good, in fact. And to do that, yeah, I think I'm going to mimic that. I think all my other actions, my other RE scripts, tend to fail with an error message, but for this one, I will copy the behavior of the existing REAPER actions. So I don't need to do this part of the loop. All I need to do is just check over here this like so. And when I save this, it already runs. So this is not showing me any console message, which means that it is just not doing anything when you call it with no item selected. But if I have this item selected, then it does show me the name of the file associated with the item. So that's working. Now let's call ffmpeg to detect the streams. I already did some research off camera about this because I wanted to know how the output of ffmpeg could look like. We looked at one example in the previous stream, but I wondered if there would be something more convenient, something like JSON output. And in fact, there is a way to output JSON information about the different streams in a video item using ffmpeg. But there are problems. The first is that it is a different command line tool. It's called ffprobe. Probably ffprobe. And the problem with having a different command line utility for this is that I'm thinking ahead about the distribution of this. I would like to tell people to just go to repack, install all my packages, and it would just work. I would like people to not have to install ffmpeg, ffprobe, and then tell my re script where to find those executables, that would be annoying for people to do and for me to maintain as well. Ideally, I would be able to distribute ffmpeg and ffprobe, if that was the case, to the users along with my package as an executable, as data. Because in REAPER, you can distribute data, any kind of data, just files. And I would like to distribute those files that are the executables for ffmpeg and ffprobe or whatever else is needed for your operating system. So I would have to maintain different executables for different operating systems. That is already the approach I use in another script of mine that is syncing a recording between REAPER and OBS. So you can record video in REAPER, sort of. The way that works is it goes through a command line tool that I developed called OBS CLI, and that is distributed with my rescript. So you just have to install my rescripts and the executable goes along with that. I would like the distribution model of this to be similar, and having yet another executable to manage is more annoying. But also, ffprobe is capable of outputting JSON, but it doesn't really help me out that much, because as far as I can tell, I can come here to the API help, as far as I can tell, there is nothing here that in the rescript API that allows me to parse JSON. So it isn't really an advantage for me to be able to output JSON from the command line, because I would have to parse the JSON myself anyway, probably using regular expressions. So at that point, I thought, well, it's not worth it. I think it's better to just use ffmpeg from the command line the way that we used on the previous stream and parse the output of that, because it's not that bad, really. Let's look at it again. I'll open the terminal and go to the videos folder where the video file is. Oh, and by the way, these are the files that are created by the explode action in REAPER, so we could mimic this as well. I don't really like this square brackets. That's not what I had in mind, but we may want to copy this behavior as well. In any case, so when I run this command, the output looks like this. And I think that this is very manageable. All we have to do is look for a string that looks like this, and the first 0 will be fixed. It will always be 0. So the only thing that changes is the later number here and whether it's video or audio, which I think is very manageable. We can parse this using Lua very easily. We could also just call ffmpeg once with all the input files. So suppose that we had another one like this that was selected in the timeline, and we would get just one output that would list, or we should have gotten just one output that would list all the streams. But in this case, it seems like it's only working with the first input file. So go figure. Oh, that's because this is not quoted. So it didn't find the file. Okay, so we could just call ffmpeg once and then parse the output like this. But I think that would make parsing harder, and there isn't really an advantage to doing things this way. But it's interesting that the output here is different. It has this something here. So yeah, let's keep that in mind, because that is something that may show up in the different output formats from ffmpeg. Okay, so let's come back here and look at how we can execute commands from the command line in REAPER. I don't remember how to do that, but we have here the rescript API. And let's look for command line. Okay, so that's good. Executes command line, returns null on total failure, otherwise the return value, a new line, and then the output of the command. If timeout msec milliseconds is 0, the command will be allowed to run indefinitely, recommended for large amounts of returned output. Timeout msec is -1 for no wait, terminate, and -2 for no wait and minimize. In our case, we want to time out after a few moments. We know that, at least for this part, when doing the actual conversion, we may want to do 0, because we want the conversion to terminate before we move on to the next part. So yeah, for this that is just probing, I will, oh, I didn't copy, paste. Okay, so this is the output of running a command, and we need to tell what command to run, ffmpeg, and a timeout in milliseconds. So I will give ffmpeg 500 milliseconds to get me some output. I wonder if this is enough. I think that you need to pass, from my previous experience working with this is finicky, and I think you need to pass the absolute path for the executable. But let's give this a try. So I'll save this, and it failed. So let's pass the whole path to the executable. I'll call which ffmpeg. So this is where ffmpeg is installed on my machine. And that's another reason why I want to distribute the ffmpeg binary along with the rescript, because your path to the executable will be different from mine, depending on how you install ffmpeg. And if I manage the installation of ffmpeg, not only I will be certain that it will be there, but I will know the path where it is installed. Okay, so if I give it an absolute path, then that works. And now I can construct a command using the file name that I got from here. No such file or directory. It seems that I need to quote this file name, or I need to give it an absolute path. That's probably what it is. Oh no, this is already an absolute path. So it's probably a problem of quoting. This is where things get really annoying, because quoting is different on macOS, Linux, and Windows. I think that macOS and Linux is the same, but on Windows it's definitely different. So I need to quote this in a smart way. I will have to test this on Windows, and we'll do that in a future stream. I think that the way you quote something is with double quotes, like so. So save that. Okay, that was right for macOS. I think it will be different for Windows. Oh, no. I had that problem when developing the OBS CLI thing. But the problem was that I had double quotes in the names themselves, or making an analogy to this case, it was as if file itself had some double quotes in the name, which is something that may happen, but I don't think I want to deal with that case. I will wait for someone to complain about this, but that was an issue on the OBS CLI case, because I had something that I was quoting here that had double quotes in it. So that case, to escape the double quotes in that, was different in macOS and Linux. But I think that in this scenario where I am just double quoting because I want to deal with the spaces, for instance, which is the case here, this file name has a space in it. You can see that when I invoked it over here. So it has a space in the name. So I'm only doing the double quotes because I want to deal with that, the spaces in the name and whatever other strange characters may be in there, like a minus sign. If your file name starts with a minus sign, which is something nasty to do. But in any case, I don't think that that would even work. I would have to escape that. Also, yeah, okay, I think I'm going to not deal with that right now. So I do have an output here that I can work with. And I have to give this a name. So file information. That is a very generic name. That's going to be the result of calling this. If file information, the first thing I need to look at is the output of the command itself, if it ran successfully or not. If I got one of those minus 999 as before, or if I got something like a 0 that happened this time. So let's print file information one more time, and we'll see that the first line is the number 1. I guess that's what we want, because from ffmpeg's perspective, this is an error. we are not telling ffmpeg to do any conversion or anything, so that is an error from ffmpeg's perspective, but it is right for us because we are not using ffprobe for all the reasons I mentioned. We are using ffmpeg to do the probing. So from ffmpeg's perspective, this is an error, but from our perspective, that is success. So we want to check that the file information variable starts with 1. So first, let's remember that the documentation said that it will return null on total failure. So if file information is equal to null, I think that's how you do it in Lua, but I forget. I do have this other application called Hammerspoon, which I use for other purposes, but it does have a Lua REPL that I sometimes use to test Lua scripts very quickly, which is not something you can do in REAPER itself. It doesn't have a console with interactive Lua interpretation. So let's see if nil is equal to nil in Lua. It is, so we can do that. Nil is not equal to nil in SQL, for instance. And double dashes is how you create a comment in SQL, so I kind of make this connection in my head. In any case, so if file information is nil, or if file information does not start with the number 1 and a new line, so there is this string match function in Lua, and it takes 2 arguments. One is the string and the other is the Lua pattern that you want to match with this string. So you want to match number 1 new line. I wonder if this is correct. So let's come back to the Lua REPL we were just using on Hammerspoon. And of course I don't have the file information variable over here, so what I'm going to do instead is just have some hard-coded string here that is like hello. That shouldn't be nil, but if I have 1 new line hello, okay, so that is the number 1, which evaluates to true in Lua. So I did have that right. So if the file information is nil, or if the file information could not be gathered for whatever reason, then I am going to return to stop execution of the script right away and do the REAPER MB thing we did last time. So we could do this. I wonder if we should do this or if we should just error, because this is a case that should not happen. It should, we having supposing that we are able to, we'll see if we are, but and by the way, we need to put a fix me over here. Make this ffmpeg absolute path. We need to figure out what we are going to do with this. But we will be in control of this if everything turns out for the better. So this should never happen. It should not error like this. So I'm not even going to make this user-friendly. I'll just use Lua's error, which is a built-in in Lua, and it stops execution, and depending on the application, it will show the error in different ways. Coming back to the Hammerspoon console, error shows up like this in the console for Hammerspoon. But in the case of REAPER, the way it works is it will show up like this. Like this. So that's what's going to happen if you run the action. And it will show even where in the action the error occurred, which in this case is line number 3 over here. But it would be nice to have this information in case this runs into an error and someone reports the error back to me. It would be nice to know the line in which the error happened. So I think that having this is better. So now we need to give this a meaningful message. Error inspecting file. How do I call this? A media file. Media file. That's how I call it here. So that's, I'm going to follow this here as well. Error inspecting media file. and I'm going to give you two pieces of information on this error. The media file name itself, which is file. I'm going to put some new lines over here, and I will show what the media what the file information is. There is a problem here. File information may be null, so I will convert this to a string to prevent this to prevent the error reporting from erroring. Fun stuff. Okay, so this should make things work. Error inspecting media file, blah blah blah. Why is that? At least one file must be provided, whatever. So, okay, we are getting the error, and the error will look like this. It will give me the line number, it will give me the name of the file, and it will give me the output. But it should not be showing me the error message. Oh, if it's not the case that it starts with 1, then I will give an error. And now I'm not showing the error. This is the console output from this line. Okay, we are good. So now at this point where this line occurs, we can comment this out, or maybe even remove it. No, I'll just comment this out for now. But we do have a file information variable that we can work with. So we can start to match, to grab those strings that represent the different streams. So we'll need to match this multiple times, and I forget how to do that. Is there a string G match? Yes. So I suppose I have to Google this because I don't remember. So Lua G match, and let's go to the reference. G match returns an iterator function, and then we call for on that. Good. So for that's going to be a stream information in string G match of file information with a Lua pattern. So a Lua pattern is like a regular expression in many ways, and unlike a regular expression in other ways. For instance, it does not use a backslash, it uses a percent sign. And the things that you can match are different. Lua patterns are much more restricted, but they're also a lot faster. So the pattern that we are looking for is something like this. I'm going to get the more general case like this. So the pattern starts with a hash, then it will have the number 0 because I'm doing this for each one of the files. Now I'm thinking, should I do this in just one pass? No, I don't think that will be faster in any way, and it will get more complicated in terms of parsing. And then how am I going to do this later when I'm doing the conversion? No, I could call, as I said before, I could just call ffmpeg at once and get all the information I need in one pass. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it once per file. Maybe if you have hundreds of files, this would matter. But no one has hundreds of files. So this is going to be explicitly this. And that's good because it anchors the search. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now let's see if this occurs elsewhere in the output. So it does occur in the input. So maybe I can look for the stream word as well. That seems like a smart idea. So at this point, I'm really tempted to just do this. I think that's going to work. And then I don't really care about anything else. So here I can probably just use this. I don't remember if this is a Lua pattern, but I think it is. And then this is either going to be video or audio. And I don't know if Lua has capture patterns, so let's look for Lua patterns. does it have something like Lua pattern or logical or in Lua patterns? Lua does not use regular expressions. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go with my memory in this. Yeah, okay, so it seems clear that it does not have alternation patterns. So I will have, I cannot say in any way video or audio. There is no way for me to say that. So I'm going to do, what I'm going to do instead, just grab the whole line, and then I will, so I'm going to grab the whole line, and then I will, in the for loop, I will do, in here, I will do another match in the stream information to gather whether this is video or audio. I wonder if Lua has capture patterns. So Lua patterns, capture group or something like that. Captures. It does have captures if I'm using find. What happens when you call gmatch anyway? Gmatch. Lua gmatch. I wonder if the thing that is returned from the gmatch will have the pattern, the captures in there. Okay. This is an example using captures. Key value. Okay, I think that if you just have capture patterns like this, they will just show up as variables over here. I think that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to write something to that amount, to that effect. So I'll have a capture pattern here, another one here, and then another one here. And then stream information is already kind of parsed. So this is the first capture pattern is the string. No, it is not the stream, it's the input. That's how ffmpeg calls it, right? Yes, input. So this is the input. The second one is the stream. And the third one is, I'm going to call it the description. I'm going to call this, the rest of this thing, like the description line. The description of the stream. I think that's good enough. And then I am going to print. So that's good that I had that thing over there. So I'm going to print the input, and then comma, and then the stream, and then comma, and then the description, and then a new line. So when I save that, error inspecting media file -3. Didn't we just succeed in inspecting the file before? What's going on there? Okay. Okay. So 0 is correct and 0 is correct, but then the description is all wrong because it did not stop on the new line. I believe I know the problem. It is the star, because the star is greedy and it will do a match until the last new line, and we want the first new line. And I think in Lua patterns, if you pass a minus sign, it does that. So let's clear the console and run this again, and this time we have just the line that is the description, and the line will contain video or audio. Excellent. So with that, we are actually able to call ffmpeg just once with all the streams we want to inspect in one place. I'm not sure this is a good optimization. I am on the fence about this one. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with just a single invocation of ffmpeg. Because after all, this is a matter of optimization, yes, but it's also a matter of correctness, and calling ffmpeg just once seems like a nice idea. I may regret this in the future, but I will try this. So what I need to do is split this. I don't want to call ffmpeg right away. I'll leave this as a big comment. And so now I'm just capturing the file names, and I'm going to maintain a map of what I care about here. So I do care about the media item. I will need to manipulate these media items later to mute, to inspecting which track they are so that I can create new tracks underneath. So I will definitely need the media item. And I also care about the source file name, because that's what I'm gonna need to do here, this inspection. So I'm going to keep a map of local media items, not really media files, media. I'll just call this media. And it will be a table. And over here, I will push to the table. So I think it's called table insert. Seems good. And I'll call the media, and I'm going to insert a table that is the media item, the file. And if I need something else, like if I do need the take and I do need the source, then I can add this later. But I don't think I will need that. I think I will only need the media item and the file name. So now we will have a bunch of loops. I started this stream saying that I may want to do everything in one loop, but in the end, this design is going to be many, many loops. But in this case, it's not even a loop. I just have to build the ffmpeg command that I want to run. So I am going to say inspect command is going to be a table for, so this is like building the media thing, and now let's do a loop here for, and this media thing is something that I'm going to loop over to build the command, the ffmpeg command that I want to run, but also I will stuff more things into the media thing when I'm done. So over here I am inspecting, and I will put the result of that inspection in the media object as well, or media table. Not in JavaScript, I mean Lua. So the media table here as well will contain that data. So inspect command, it will actually start with ffmpeg space, or maybe not even this space, like so. Oh, I should check. So this is going to call ffmpeg regardless of what happens. So if I just move on with this idea, this is going to call ffmpeg regardless, but if there is no input, I want to stop. So I'm going to again do the thing we did before, where we check whether the number of items is equal to 0. But now I'm just going to return so that it does not continue running. I'm not going to produce any error messages. And the reason why I have to do this is because I don't want the action to actually proceed and call ffmpeg to inspect nothing and so on. So that would be bad. Now that we have this, I'm actually going to bring back the local variable selected media items count. I could leave the code as it was, but I think it's nice to have this as a separate variable. So now we are stopping right away if we don't have anything selected. We're collecting the media items and files, and now we are building the command that we want to run to inspect. So let's loop over the media it does not really matter all that much if I am doing this in order or not, but I'm going to do it in order. So what I have in here is a key that I don't care about, and so I guess this is a list of multiple media, so I'll call this medias. I know that media is already a word that is plural. If I wanted to say singular, I would say medium. I think that's the correct Latin for this, but no, not doing the Latin thing. So medias and medias, and I'm doing this English-like. So for each one of the media in the medias, I am going to add more things to the inspect command table. So table, insert, and what I'm going to insert is a string that reads like space minus I for input, and then effectively this is what I'm gonna do. Something like this, not exactly this. Okay, messed it up. This, okay, let's fix this. So space minus I, then quote, and then the file name. Oh, the file name is in media, so now I need to say media file. And then another quote, and this one is unnecessary. Okay, so let's look at what this inspect command looks like. I'll need to do a table concat. And then save that. So the command that would run is this. Excellent. So I guess I am able to actually run this command now. Let's bring in, whoops, let's bring in the command from here, or I can just uncomment this. So I don't need to console log this. I'm not in JavaScript. I don't need to show console message this. ffmpeg absolute path. I wonder if I can just untab. Okay, I can just untab all the things here and like so. Okay, so now I have built the command to inspect, and then I can just exec process with the inspect command. I think I should call this inspect command parts, because it's actually a buffer with different parts. And then let's see, file information is equal to that, and then I check if the file information is valid, and then I show each one of the input streams. So I save and I see just one in this case. Excellent. Now let's grab a copy of these, select both and run the command, and then we have two different streams, two different inputs with three different streams each. So now, instead of just printing stuff, we will add to the medias. Yeah, and I guess it was good that I did the thing here in order after all, because I will need to add the information in order here as well. That's gonna get annoying because I will need to check if I am still on the same stream, still on the same input, right? I'll need to check if I'm still on the same input, if I'm still looking at streams from the same input. I guess it will not be a big deal though, because we will just push to the list of to a list of streams. So we'll need over here a list of streams that we can push into. And then over here, I will first, I'm going to inspect whether this is a video or audio. I'll have a local isVideo, and isVideo will check whether the description includes the string video, like so. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with this. isVideo is a variable that is a boolean effectively, and it will match. So I wonder if Lua has a toBoolean thing. toBoolean. It does not, because it doesn't really need, because this video is going to be a number. The result of his match is a number, but his video will be treated like a boolean everywhere, so it does not have a toBoolean thing. I could be explicit and say something like this. I'm not gonna. I think that this reads better. So isVideo looks like that, and then I am going to, on the medias table, I'm going to look at the media on position to number of input, because remember that this is a string, which is the output of gmatch. So now this is a string, and I want to get a number corresponding to that string. I'm going to use that number to index into the table that is a list, effectively, the table medias. And I am going to grab the streams, and I'm going to table push, because it not table push, table insert. I'm going to insert into this table, which is empty initially, but I'm going to insert into this table. What information do I need? I don't actually need the number, because these are numbered from 0 upward. Oh, and Lua tables are numbered from 1. They are 1 based. So when I get input number 0, I should add 1 to get the media's number 1 in this table over here. The number over here is also unnecessary, because these things are ordered anyway and 0 based, so I don't actually need the stream, but I think it's nice to match on that. The only thing that I really need to know is the number of streams and whether it's video or audio, because I will map differently. I will use a different codec. We talked about this last time. So the only thing I actually need is whether this is video. So I'm going to put a table, because I think it's better to have this as a table so that it carries the information that I'm storing, whether this is video or not. And this is only a single piece of data, but I think it's nice to have this there as a table with this sort of description of what the data is. You can think of this like a poor man's object of sorts. Okay, so I'm inserting this into the table, and then I can move this console log message out. And when I run this, there are no errors, but there is also no output, because I'm not showing the result of this table. So I could write some loops to inspect this variable. Unfortunately, in this context, in REAPER, there is no way for me to inspect tables. In Hammerspoon, there is a way for me to inspect tables, and I think it's worth mentioning this. There is this inspect thing, and then you can do things like that. It prints the table, but in REAPER that doesn't exist, so I would have to write some code to loop over the tables and show the output. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm going to move on and think about what I need to do next, which is to build a command that will convert the outputs. So let's start. So at this point, I will need to call ffmpeg again. So I'm going to extract this into a variable that I'm going to call ffmpeg. And I will move this variable up. Eventually, we will figure out what to do with this. So inspect command parts like that. It starts with ffmpeg, and this will be convert command parts, and it will also start with ffmpeg like that. And now I need to think about what I need to do. I need to loop over the command, the media. I'll do something very similar to this. I'll loop over the media, and for each one of the media, I will list it as an input. So that is exactly the same because I will need the media as input. So I actually could start, oh, this is a crazy idea, but I could actually start with the inspect command parts table. This is crazy, but I could start with the inspect command parts table because I'm only going to add some more stuff to that command to actually do the conversion. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this back. I wonder how I can clone a table in Lua. Lua clone table. Copy table, duplicating tables, clone tables, whatever. Table clone. Okay. Oh, this is shallow copy, quick and dirty, shallow copy, deep copy, non-recursive. I like the quick and dirty. No, I don't want to do this manually. No, thank you. This doesn't sound like fun either. Yeah. Because I'm not actually going to use, oh, this is hacky. I'm not actually going to use the inspect command parts, but I want to copy it over to a new variable because I think it's hacky to just not, to just mutate this table. Yeah, so I'm going to bring this back. And I am going to, the convert command parts is going to be table unpack of this table over here. And I do want to check this in the console. So let's see. A table T, that is our hello world. And then a table copy of T, which is a table with table unpack of T. I kind of remember seeing this trick in the programming in Lua book. So T, I can inspect T, and I can inspect C. Oh, that did not work. What does table unpack produce? Nil. There is one other thing to consider, which is this console is using something that is not the same Lua version. It's using a different Lua version from the one that REAPER uses. But this clone idea did not work. Copy table. How do you copy a table by value? Copying a table efficiently. Deep copy, duplicating. Deep copy. I can do a shallow copy. Don't really need a deep copy. Nah. Get meta table. No meta table stuff for me. Table copy. No. Shallow copy. Oh, come on, do I really need to write that loop? It seems like everyone agrees that this should work. Is it maybe not table unpack? It's just unpack. It's not callable. Table deep copy. I'm going to give this like 1 more minute. I'm going to look up for the documentation of table unpack. Returns multiple values from the book. So table unpack T is returning nil. And if I do it like this, it returns empty. But T is a table that is not nil. It does have a field. I don't know what's happening here. So I think what I'm going to do is the more explicit thing. So yeah, I take it back. I'm going to revert this. I'm not going to use the clever idea that one command is actually the prefix of the other. I'm going to make things more explicit. So I think at this point I want to stop. Yes. So I am going to have ffmpeg as different variable. I'm going to build this command to convert the command paths by actually copying the code, which is more explicit, less magic. I think I like this. So at this point I have all the inputs. Now I need to loop over all the maps that I want to do on the... Oh, look at that. I have someone watching live. Hey, Jason. I did not see that coming. Okay, so I was not ready for someone actually watching. I have 4 people actually watching this according to the stats here on YouTube. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is actually build the command that reads like map and so on, and then I will stop. That's the plan. I'm going to build this command and then I will stop for today. So I need to list all the inputs. I could list all the inputs first and then the maps later, or I could, I think, intertwined, have some I and then the input and then a bunch of maps with the output. Huh. Jason is saying, love your channel. Oh, thank you. It's good to have you here. Thank you. You help me keep going. Okay, so I could do this intertwined, input and then a bunch of maps, or I could do all the inputs first and then all the maps. I think I'm going to intertwine. I would do input and maps, input and maps. It doesn't really matter. I don't think that the order of these flags matter for ffmpeg. So I'm going to loop over the media, what did I call it? Streams. So this is going to be one of the streams. It's going to be a stream, and in here I can do table insert, effectively the same as this. So I can do that, and this is no longer the inspect command parts, this is the convert command parts. So convert command parts, and I will map. And now I need to tell it what I want to map. So I want to do this. And well, actually to do that, I will need to know the media number and the stream number. So I'll call this the media index, or the input index. And this will be the stream index. And here I am going to concatenate. I know I need a double, yeah, I know I need a column here because that's the syntax over here. And then these indices are actually 1 minus the indices I have over here because these are 1 based. So I will concatenate to string of input index minus 1 and to string of stream index, input index and stream index. This is too long, so now let's break this apart. In fact, here's how I'm going to break this apart. I'm going to come here to Visual Studio Code and format using the Lua formatter that I mentioned in the previous stream. So now this doesn't look necessarily good, but it's standard. It's consistent with everyone that uses the same tool. At least I don't like, personally, I don't like the way that this looks, but at least it's consistent. So I'm going to map the input index minus 1 column. This should be to string stream index minus 1. And then I don't actually need the media file over here again. That hasn't already been taken care of. And you know what? I actually want to see this, so I'm going to console log, or not console log. This is not JavaScript. I should stop saying that. So I'm going to table concat with the convert command parts and save, and this runs. So this is what would run to convert. So this is the correct input. It maps 0, 0, maps 0, 1, and maps 0, 2. And then another one, because I have 2 selected here on the timeline, I have 2 files selected. Yeah, Jason is saying that Lua format makes it much weird. Yeah, I don't like the output, but I do like the consistency, and everyone that uses the format will have the same output. Lua is more of a free-form language. In other languages, there are more conventions around things like how to name variables and how the code should be formatted. Lua is not like that. In Lua, you can use camel case, snake case, whatever. People don't really care. But since I have this background in other languages in which these conventions exist, I tend to try to follow some conventions. Like these, I am using camel case because that's what is used by the REAPER API itself. I try to make things consistent, and I'm using Lua formatted because of this, and I use it on all my other extensions, but I don't really like the way it looks. But I guess that's the point of having a convention. You don't need to like the way it looks. As long as everyone is using the convention, everyone will be equally annoyed, but at least it will look the same for everyone, which I guess is a good thing. I guess consistency is better than aesthetics. That is a political statement. I think that consistency is more important than aesthetics. Okay, so the command looks fine, but I actually need to tell what the output should be, what the name of the output file should be. So I will create that. I will need the quotes. Quotes start to look really weird like this, but there is no string interpolation in Lua. So I have to resort to that. And now at this point, I need to think about the output name that I want for these files. I could just follow the convention from this, and I guess that's what I'm gonna do, though I don't really like it. And this gets annoying because I also need to find if the file already exists, because if it does, then do I want to overwrite it or do I want to create a new one like this? I think I would like to create a new one and not overwrite existing files. I wonder what ffmpeg even does if a file already exists, if it overwrites or if it warns you in some way. So I'm going to make a quick test over here, and I'm going to map stream00 to a file that already exists. Listing all the files. So I want the one that ends in MP4. Yes, this one. Okay, I need quotes around this. Yeah, if I try to overwrite a file, it will complain, and this will not fly with the way I'm running commands on the command line using a rescript, because it will probably wait for 500 milliseconds over here. Actually, for this command that will take a while, because it's actually doing the conversion, I'm not putting a timeout on the execution of the command, so this will just hang forever, I think. I think that's what REAPER will do. So instead, I'm going to have to guarantee that this name is unique, which is also the behavior of the tool I'm kind of mimicking, which is the explosion of the different channels in the same media item. So I will need to figure out whether this name is unique or not. And I can traverse directories in Rescript to find if the file exists or not. But I am not going to do this on this stream. I'm going to leave this for later. So I'm going to put here a fix me. Make unique file names. And let's see what chat is saying. Rob Pike once said that to people who doesn't like Go format, fuck you. Yeah, it's more or less like that. Consistency is better than aesthetics. And I don't really like the way that Lua format looks, and I don't really like the way that Go at all looks as a language. I don't really like the way Go reads. I like the way that Lua reads better than I like Go. But that's the point. It doesn't really matter. It is consistent. Everyone who writes Go kind of writes it in the same way, and I appreciate that. Okay, so where are we? We are inserting the file name over here. The file name is definitely based on the file name of the media itself, so I need to take out the extension of the file name. So what I'm gonna do is come here to media, and I'll say that this is the stream. So I was calling this the file name. I was calling it file. So I should probably call this the media file, because I will also have the stream files. Yeah, I'm going to break things and do a quick search and replace, or potentially break things and do a quick search and replace here. So everywhere where I see file, I want to see media file instead, but not really everywhere. So I'll replace here, but not here, and here I will replace, and here, and this file information variable should probably be called media file information, because it is about the media files. So I'll split this, and now it's behind my face. So let's get my face out of the way. So file information should be renamed to media file information. And let's continue. Media file, unique string file names. Make unique string file names. I hope I have not broken anything, so let's see again real quick. Media file information. Oh, you know what? The media file is already under the medias table, so it's kind of okay because we'll have a streams with a different file name in there. Yeah, I think I like this better. So I'm going to revert my search and replace. Yeah, this is where it all started. So it's okay that it's named just file over here and file information over there. And here it will be called, yeah, let's reload this. Here it will be called just file. So I'll take the media file and I will do a string match on the media file, and I will match from the beginning to the end. And I just want the base name of the file. I wonder if there is something in Lua that does this for me. So let's look for Lua base name. Base name not Lua. It seems like no. Because if there was something like this, yeah. And this only works on POSIX systems. And I think that in Windows, this name here that we are getting, where are we getting it? Here. I think that in Windows, this name will not contain backslashes. I think that REAPER will just normalize and put forward slashes here, but I will need to check this when we are testing on Windows. That will come later. So we'll also have another fix me that is fix me thus Windows normalize this to forward slashes, or normalize this, normalize file to forward slashes. We'll see this later. Okay, so we are back here on the file. So we have the media file, and yeah, now that I think about it, Lua doesn't even have the concept of files in the first place. It doesn't know about directory structures or whatnot, I think. I remember that from reading the Programming in Lua book. In Lua, the file names are just strings, and there is no connection to the underlying file system because Lua is portable and it may run in scenarios where a file system isn't even available, I think. Like embedded systems, I don't remember really, but in any case, so I will need to do this manually. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to look for a forward slash. So I'm going to look for anything at all, forward slash, and this is greedy as we just saw before, but I had to use the minus sign here. So in this case, I do want the greedy behavior because I want the last forward slash. I'll look for an actual dot, and then I want to ignore whatever is after that literal dot. And the thing that I do actually want to get a hold of is what I'm going to capture here is this. And I also want this to be greedy because if the file name contains dots, I want to get those dots in this capture, and then this will be the last dot. So I do want this to be star. This could be minus, I think. I need to test this. And I will test this with the actual media file that I am using. So that, and then where is it? Over here. Okay, that is good. That gives me the base path of the file. Oh, I don't want the base path. I want the whole path because I'm going to provide absolute paths to ffmpeg. So I actually want this. Cool. So this is the pattern. let's return to here, and this is the pattern I want. And I want to concatenate something. What I want to concatenate is either .mp4 or .wave. So what I'm gonna check is this stream is video? If it is video, .mp4. If it's audio, .wave. Okay, so now I have a file that I can put in here, but there is more. If this is video, if the stream is video, then I will want to concatenate the, but not in the quotes. I think this is in the wrong place. There is this weird issue. I think it's macOS specific in this weird editor that Reaper gives me, where the cursor doesn't really map to where you're clicking. You're like always one off. I have no idea why. Okay, so right here, if the stream is video, I want to put the codec copy like this. Otherwise, I don't need to put any codec because I will actually convert. We talked about this in the previous stream. Okay, let's save this and see what we are outputting. This is the command that would run. So ffmpeg with this input, and then map 00 copy, because this is a video stream, to this MP4 file. And then there are two spaces over here, which is not an issue, but I would like to know why. I do have a space over here, and that is correct. I'm always putting the spaces before the commands. So after the file, I suppose there is another space. Let's see. Yes, there is a space over here. So let's save this. Run this again. And I will clear the console. Run this. So this is the ffmpeg command that would run. So it will take the video input. We do have two media items selected. So it will take the first one. It will map, copy this MP4, map the first stream to an audio file and the second stream to another audio file. Oh, and we forgot to put the square brackets in the stream number. So let's do that. The file name right before this extension, so right at this position, I'll have space and then square brackets and then stream, and then in here I will interpolate the stream index plus 1 to string of this whole guy. Clear the console, run this again. So now I'm calling ffmpeg with the input. This is wrong. It's the number 2, the number 3, the number 4. What's going on? Why is it saying stream 2? Did I add one instead of subtracting one? I did. Yeah, I'm subtracting one everywhere else. So that was the problem. Let's clear this. Let's run the command again and look at the output. So this is stream 0, and I guess that is correct, but let's see. Yeah, it's one based here on this explode thing. So at this point, I have two options. I can either follow this convention of calling this channel 1 and stream 1 in my case, or I can follow the ffmpeg convention. I think I'm gonna follow the REAPER convention here and do this 1 based. So at this point, I don't need to subtract 1. So now we have stream 1 and stream 2. So stream 0 is mapping to stream 1 over here. And yeah, I think I prefer it this way. And then I have another input here, and then this is going to map to that. Actually, this is an interesting case that I just ran into because I have exactly the same input here. So over here, I would be converting multiple times. I could not do that. And then I would have a many-to-one mapping of input of media items to inputs. That's gonna get complicated, but yeah, I want to make sure that don't convert the same source multiple times. Do a many-to-one relationship, or do manage a many-to-one relationship between media items or REAPER media items and sources. It also impacts how we are going to find unique names for files. And I guess it's kind of okay because we already have a mapping of media items to sources, to file names. So we can just detect unique file names and map the media items accordingly. Yeah, we'll have to handle this in the future. This action is going to be a lot more complicated than I expected because of all these edge cases. But I think this is good enough for now. So if I run this, it is outputting the command that I should run. And I'm not actually going to run this because it will start recreating the same files, which is annoying because I would have to come back here and delete the files that ffmpeg was creating. Or I would have to handle the case where it hangs because the file names are not unique. I'm going to actually run this once I have figured how to generate unique file names. And probably once I have already managed this many-to-one relationship. So let's stop here. I have the inputs mapped to the outputs. I managed to parse the output from ffmpeg. I'm mapping the streams accordingly. I am generating these beautiful ffmpeg commands that explode things correctly. Yeah, I think this is good enough for now. So thank you all for watching. Jason said I have to go now, but I really hope this channel grow. Oh yeah, I will keep doing this. Thanks for watching, Jason. You helped me stay strong and keep doing this. And thank you all who support me on Patreon and PayPal. Next time what we are going to do is all these fix me's. We are going to do this many-to-one relationship between media items and sources, and we are going to manage this unique file name situation. And if you run the same this explosion again and again, it will create new files as the explosion of channels does in the default REAPER action. So we are going to do all that, and at that point, I think that's probably going to be a whole stream just to do that. But once we have that, we will be able to actually create the tracks in REAPER and start putting media files in place. And I think that we'll approach the end of this. I think we will end this week. Anyway. Thank you all who watched this. I see you next time. I don't really have a schedule right now for streaming, so I'm still experimenting with things, but for people who show up, thanks. And I think that once I have this series done and I have nailed all the setup and everything, then maybe I'll have a schedule and I'll start announcing these things in advance. But for now, it will be when I have the time, when the baby allows. Okay, thank you all for watching. I see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.